Representative Talarico, thank you for being here with me today. Many Texas House Democrats, including yourself, have left the state. You say you're talking from Illinois. First question, why do this?
Well, state legislators typically adjust district boundaries at the beginning of a decade to account for population changes after a new census. That's what Texas Republicans did in 2021 when they drew these maps. But what's happening now is very different. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is telling those Texas Republicans to redraw the Texas political maps because he wants five more seats, because he's worried about losing the midterm elections. He's worried that he's going to lose his hold on power. And that is why he's shielding himself from the voters, from the people. And that is fundamentally un-American. What we're doing is we are fighting for every Texan, every American, Democrat, Independent, or Republican. We're fighting for their ability to elect the candidates of their choice, to have a check on those in power. That's what's at stake here.
How long have you guys been considering this for? Or you specifically, how long have you been considering, breaking quorum for?
Well, I was praying that my Republican colleagues would not go through with this power grab. I was hoping they would stand up to Donald Trump and tell him not to mess with Texas. But sadly, they decided to ram this thing through with a sham process without any transparency in a back room in the Capitol. And so we decided to take an extreme step, and that is to leave the state, to break quorum, and stop this corrupt map from passing. We may not be in Texas, but we are fighting for our constituents. We are fighting for all Texans. We are fighting for free and fair elections in every community across the state and across the country.
Now, Governor Greg Abbott has threatened to remove lawmakers from office. He said that in a statement yesterday. How concerned are you by that statement?
Well, it's very consistent because with these corrupt maps, Greg Abbott is trying to rob Texans of their ability to elect the candidates of their choice. And now he is literally threatening to remove the people's candidates and the people's elected officials from office. So he's taking a page right out of Donald Trump's authoritarian playbook, and it should be alarming to everyone, regardless of your political party. And this is the problem when politicians draw the maps, when they divide our communities, when they draw our districts into these crazy shapes to manufacture the outcome they want. They are holding on to power and diluting the power of the people. And that is just fundamentally un-American. And it's why my colleagues took this step of breaking quorum to stop these maps from passing.
Now, if my understanding is correct, you were a state lawmaker the last time quorum was broken in
Yes.
2021, and Democrats eventually did come back to the state. And Senate Bill 1, I believe, was the bill, ultimately did pass. So how confident are you that this quorum can ultimately lead to change?
Well, that quorum break in 2021 was pretty effective because it pressured the Republicans in the state legislature to take out the worst parts of that voter suppression bill. The spotlight, the national spotlight that was put on that bill forced them to take out the ban on Sunday morning voting, to take out the provision that would allow politicians to overturn election results they don't like. And so while the bill passed and I still voted against it, it was a less harmful bill than the one that was introduced, and that was because of our quorum break. So I'm hopeful that this quorum break will shine a national spotlight on Trump's redistricting power grab and convince Americans from across the political spectrum to speak out against this rigged system and hopefully commit ourselves to free and fair elections across the state, across the country.
How long are you willing to be out of the state for? A couple weeks, a couple months?
Well, my colleagues and I have all committed to staying out of the state capitol for the next 2 weeks. That's how long the special session lasts. And after that ends, the map will be dead, and we'll see what happens from there.
And of course, one last thing I want to ask you: you are zooming from Illinois, which is a state that has drawn some criticism. There's 14 of 17 U.S. House representatives are part of the Democratic Party, which even looking at the presidential election result is in Illinois, which was roughly 54%, I believe, for former Vice President Kamala Harris. Some may say it's more representation than the Democratic Party should have, and that's been gerrymandered. What would you say to that criticism?
I would say gerrymandering is wrong, whether it's a Democratic state or a Republican state. Politicians shouldn't choose their voters. Voters should choose their politicians. And so gerrymandering is a problem. It's why I've introduced a bill to take the politics out of this process. to take the power to draw political maps out of the hands of politicians and put it into the hands of the Texans we seek to represent. But I will say that this power grab in Texas is at a whole nother level. They are doing it in the middle of the decade. We're only supposed to redistrict at the beginning of a decade. It's basically like two football teams coming out of the locker room at halftime, and the team that's ahead says they want to change the rules for the second half to make sure they win. That's cheating, plain and simple. And if they're going to cheat, we're not going to play.
Do you have any concerns with the redistricting with the current map in Illinois?
Absolutely. I think we shouldn't have gerrymandering in any state. But while all I'm saying is that this power grab in Texas is particularly brazen, it is particularly egregious, and it is a threat because it's coming directly from the President of the United States, from the most powerful person in the country who is trying to rig the next election in his favor. And that is a real threat to the democratic process. It's why we've taken this extreme step of breaking quorum.
Anything else you'd like to add,
I don't think so. Oh,
Representative James?
one more thing. Can I add one more thing? We are we are here in Illinois, the land of Lincoln, which is appropriate because Abraham Lincoln broke quorum as a state senator back in 1840 by jumping out of the window of the state capitol in Illinois. Thankfully, I didn't have to jump out of any capitals in Austin, but it is a reminder that my colleagues and I are part of a long American tradition of standing up to bullies, of speaking truth to power, of civil disobedience, of good trouble. And all of us are proud to be part of this fight, regardless of what consequences may come.